Many people live their entire lives trapped in the confines of their own minds, believing that the constant stream of thoughts running through their heads is who they are. But this identification with the mind is the root cause of much suffering. The voice in your head, often critical, judgmental, or anxious, is not the essence of who you are. It is merely a conditioned response, a collection of past experiences, fears, and societal influences. To be free from this incessant chatter is to awaken to a deeper truth. You are not your mind. Your true essence lies beyond thought. Thoughts are fleeting, impermanent, and often repetitive, yet they dominate your sense of self. Many spend their lives either regretting the past or worrying about the future, missing the profound stillness and presence of the now. This identification with the mind keeps you trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction, always seeking something external to complete you. But nothing outside of you can provide lasting fulfillment because your beingness, your essence, is already whole and complete. The first step to awakening is to recognize the mind's activity. Watch it as an observer would watch a stream. Notice how it jumps from one topic to another, how it creates scenarios, how it clings to identity and labels. In this watching, you create a space between yourself and your thoughts. This space is your liberation. When you observe the mind without judgment, you begin to realize that you are the awareness behind the thoughts. This awareness is still, silent, and vast. It is your true self. Freedom from the mind does not mean you stop thinking altogether. Thoughts still arise, but they no longer have the power to dominate you. They become tools that you use consciously, rather than forces that use you. When the mind becomes quiet, a new dimension of existence reveals itself. It is the realm of being, the state of presence. This presence is not something you attain. It is something you realize. It is always here, waiting for you to notice. Living in this state of presence transforms your life. It allows you to experience peace, even amid chaos. It enables you to connect with others at a deeper level because you are no longer interacting from a place of ego and mind-based identity. Instead, you are engaging from the fullness of being. You begin to see the world as it truly is, free from the distortions of thought. To experience this freedom, practice bringing your attention fully into the present moment. Feel the aliveness in your body, the breath moving in and out, the sensations of life itself. The mind may resist this at first. It thrives on distraction and drama. But with practice, the pull of presence becomes stronger than the pull of thought. Remember, you are not your mind. You are the awareness, the stillness, the presence that observes it. This realization is the beginning of true freedom and the end of unnecessary suffering. The mind is an extraordinary tool, a vessel of immense power, capable of shaping the material world and creating endless possibilities. Yet it is not who you are. To identify with the mind is to imprison yourself within its endless chatter, its compulsive thoughts, and its ceaseless judgments. The mind thrives on past and future, on memories and projections, rarely, if ever, dwelling in the present moment, which is the only reality. You are not your mind. The essence of who you are lies beyond the incessant noise, beyond the ego that the mind so diligently constructs. The ego thrives on separation, on comparison, on the illusion of being superior or inferior. It tells you stories about who you should be, based on fear, based on lack, based on the illusion that you are incomplete. These stories are not who you are. They are but fleeting waves on the surface of a vast ocean. To awaken is to recognize that you are the stillness beneath the waves. You are the awareness that observes the mind, the consciousness in which thoughts arise and dissolve. When you observe the mind without judgment, without resistance, a space opens up. In that space you become free. Free from the compulsion to think, free from the need to react, free from the grip of fear and anxiety. The mind, when left unchecked, becomes a tyrant, keeps you in a state of perpetual doing, striving, and seeking. It convinces you that happiness lies somewhere in the future, in the next achievement, the next possession, the next relationship. But happiness cannot be found in the future because the future does not exist. It is a mental projection. True joy, true peace, is only ever found here and now. You may ask, If I am not my mind, then who am I? You are the awareness that precedes thought. You are the still, silent presence that watches the world unfold. You are not the content of your life story, not your successes or failures, not your thoughts or emotions. These are transient, impermanent. Who you are is eternal, unchanging, formless. When you disidentify from the mind, a profound shift occurs. You begin to live from a place of being rather than doing. You find yourself aligned with the flow of life, no longer resisting what is, no longer needing to control, manipulate, or judge. This is the essence of true freedom, a freedom that arises not from external circumstances but from within. To disidentify from the mind is not to reject it or to fight it. It is to see it for what it is, a tool, an instrument to be used when needed and set aside when it is not. When the mind becomes your servant rather than your master, it ceases to dominate your life. It becomes a creative force, a source of inspiration and insight, no longer burdened by the weight of egoic identity. In the stillness of presence, you discover a depth to life that the mind cannot comprehend. You feel a sense of connectedness to all that is, a knowing that you are not separate from the universe but an integral part of its unfolding. This is not something the mind can grasp, for it transcends thought. It is a direct experience, a realization that can only be known through being. So, let go of the identification with the mind. Let go of the stories, the judgments, the fears. Be still. Be present. Observe the mind, but do not become it. In doing so, you will come to know the truth of who you are, the formless, timeless awareness in which all things arise and pass away. This is your essence, your true self, beyond the limitations of the mind. Many people live their entire lives trapped in the confines of their own minds, identified so deeply with their thoughts that they cannot see beyond them. But the truth is this: you are not your mind. The mind is a magnificent tool, capable of creating, analyzing, solving, and imagining. Yet, when left unchecked, it becomes the master instead of the servant. Thoughts come and go, often uninvited, dragging you into the past or projecting you into the future. They tell stories of who you are, what you have been, and what you might become. And when you believe these stories, you become trapped in an illusion, a mental construct that has little to do with the essence of who you truly are. Who you are is not the voice in your head. It is not the endless stream of commentary, judgment, or worry. That voice is a mechanism, an echo of conditioning, a collection of past experiences and learned patterns. The essence of who you are lies in the silent awareness behind the voice, the stillness that notices the thoughts but is untouched by them. When you fully realize that you are not your mind, something extraordinary happens. You begin to disidentify from the thoughts that once consumed you. Instead of being lost in the chaos of mental activity, you can step back and observe it, like watching clouds drift across the sky. You understand that thoughts are not facts. They are not you. They are simply forms arising in consciousness, fleeting and impermanent. This realization brings freedom. It creates space, a vast, unshakable peace that is always present beneath the surface noise of the mind. In that space, you are no longer at the mercy of every worry or fear. You no longer chase every desire or resist every discomfort. You no longer need to defend or prove the story of me. But how do you come to this realization? Not by thinking more or trying to solve the mind with the mind. Instead, by becoming still, by turning your attention inward, by observing without judgment. Notice the breath. Feel the aliveness in your body. Listen to the silence behind the sounds. These simple practices anchor you in the present moment, the only place where life truly unfolds. The present moment is your gateway to freedom because it dissolves the illusion of time, the past and future that the mind constantly clings to. In the now, you can see clearly. The mind is a useful tool, but it is not your master. Thoughts lose their grip when met with presence. The mind quiets when it is not fed by your belief in its stories. And so, life becomes lighter, more effortless. Joy arises naturally, not as a result of achieving or attaining, but as an expression of being. Relationships deepen because you meet others not through the filters of thought, but from the spaciousness of presence. Challenges lose their heaviness because you face them not with resistance, but with clarity and acceptance. You are not your mind. You are the awareness that sees the mind. And in that awareness lies your freedom, your peace, your true nature. You are not your mind. This is perhaps one of the most profound truths that you can come to understand. The mind, with its endless stream of thoughts, fears, judgments, and desires, is not who you are. It is merely a tool, a function, a mechanism designed to help you navigate the physical world. But somewhere along the way, humanity became trapped in a false identification with this tool. We began to believe that we are our thoughts, that our identity is defined by the endless chatter in our heads. This identification with the mind has created suffering, confusion, and a sense of disconnection from the deeper essence of life. The first step to liberation is awareness. You must become aware of the constant stream of thoughts running through your mind. Notice how the mind jumps from one thing to the next, replaying past events, imagining future scenarios, and rarely staying present. This mental noise distracts you from the simple, profound reality of the present moment. It fills your life with unnecessary anxiety, regret, and longing. And yet, the truth is so simple. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who is aware of the voice. When you can step back and observe your thoughts without becoming entangled in them, a shift begins to happen. You start to see the mind for what it truly is, an instrument. You realize that thoughts are not inherently good or bad. They are simply mental forms that arise and dissolve. They have no power over you unless you choose to believe them, to give them energy and attention. And when you stop identifying with your thoughts, you begin to access a deeper dimension of your being. This deeper dimension is presence. Presence is the timeless awareness that exists beyond thought. It is the still, silent space within you that is untouched by the noise of the mind. It is who you truly are. When you are present, you are no longer ruled by the mind's stories and narratives. You are no longer lost in the past or the future. You are here now, fully alive and fully at peace. Presence is not something you need to achieve or attain. It is already within you. It is the essence of your being, the unchanging reality that underlies all experience. But to access it, you must be willing to let go of your identification with the mind. You must be willing to surrender the ego's need to control, to label, to judge. This surrender is not a loss. It is a return to the simplicity and fullness of life itself. As you deepen in presence, you begin to see the world differently. You no longer see life through the lens of the mind's conditioning and projections. Instead, you see life as it truly is, vibrant, alive, and interconnected. You realize that you are not separate from the world. You are part of the vast, infinite web of existence. This realization brings a sense of profound peace and joy. It dissolves the illusion of separation and allows you to live in harmony with yourself and with life. The mind will still be there, of course. It will still produce thoughts, memories, and ideas. But you will no longer be dominated by it. You will use the mind when it is needed, and then you will let it rest. You will no longer be a prisoner of thought. You will be free. Freedom from the mind is the beginning of true living. It is the foundation of a life filled with meaning, love, and creativity. It is the doorway to the infinite, and it is available to you here and now in this very moment. So I invite you to pause, to take a deep breath, and to simply be. Notice the stillness that is always present beneath the noise of the mind. Feel the aliveness of your body, the rhythm of your breath, the energy of the present moment. This is where life is. This is where you are. And this is the only place you need to be. You are not your mind. You are so much more. You are the awareness, the presence, the beingness that is beyond all thought and form. Rest in this truth, and you will find a peace that surpasses all understanding. The greatest realization that one can come to is the understanding that you are not your mind.